Welcome back to the Matt and Kelly Show. In this podcast or video here, if you are watching on YouTube, we are going into...
how God has changed our relationship.
We are going to give you the big picture overview for those of you who are new to us. By the way, if you don't know who we are, my name is Matt.
And I'm Kelly.
And we help God-led women create their dream love lives. So what we are going to be going into is just giving you the big picture overview, some of the things that have shifted in our relationship. And then we're going to share a few stories and things that have really transformed for us since we have come back to God, since we have connected with God.
Yeah. And God's really been up-leveling our relationship in a lot of beautiful ways. It's been miraculous and really cool to witness. So I'm excited to share these things with you guys today.
Yeah, and for those of you who are new, just to give you just to catch you up, we at the start of this year, 2024, right now it's the start of June. So over the last 6 months, we have really connected with God, shifted everything in our business, shifted a lot in our lives, and as a byproduct, our relationship has shifted. So now you're up to speed. Now we can go into it. All right, do you want to start?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
can I just share?
Oh, please, yeah.
Yeah, just the big picture overview first, and then we'll go into some of the stories.
Yeah.
So, some things that have shifted.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, okay, can we maybe give an overview of like what our relationship was like before? Because our relationship wasn't bad before.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Should we go into that? I guess that's in the
do you want to just keep this
overview.
in?
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, okay. Great. So yeah, okay. What I want to say, just to give you the overview, is that our relationship wasn't bad before. Like, our relationship was beautiful. It felt really healthy, like a dream relationship with its normal, rocky moments, conflict, and things weren't perfect. Every relationship has their spots where they struggle. So we had, of course, a few of those spots. And what I'd say, we'll get into how it is now. I would say, like, God changed our relationships in ways that I didn't even know our relationship could be better than it was, actually. So that's the overview I wanted to give.
Love it.
Now let's get into those things.
Some of the things that we did, and it's just crazy thinking back to these things that we used to do that I just used to see no problem in it.
Yeah.
So, for example, for those of you who haven't seen our testimony, in the past, we went to a few play parties. Play parties, what's the definition of that? Conscious sex parties.
Yeah. That was kind of normal in the new age world that we were in, It's kind of like tantra and doing exercises and workshops to connect sexually, but like in a group as well. And that was really normal for us. It was kind of like as part of our spiritual practice, I'd say, definitely for me.
Yeah.
And a part of our relationship, which now it feels so off.
Yes.
I just have no interest. That's out the picture for us.
Exactly. So, and then also just small things like we didn't really have a lot of rituals in our relationship. We did, but not. So, for example, before we eat, we will pray now.
Ooh, can I say something about that? Because we used to bless the food.
True, yeah.
Right, sometimes, not every time, but it'd be like, we are blessing the food, or we're blessing our bodies.
Yes.
And now it's like, okay, God, thank you, thanking God, praising God, and asking God to bless the food, which I think is just a really good metaphor for this, like a lot of the changes that have been happening. It's like where we used to kind of be in the position of God, like I need to bless this food versus I just want to be a conduit for God to come through.
It's a great perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing where even before when we do coaching calls, a lot of the time I would say affirmations and do NLP anchoring techniques and all those different things. Like, I am going to be the one that does great here. And now it's just like, God, remove as much of Matt and Kelly as possible and allow the Holy Spirit to speak through us.
Yeah, it's such a relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some big picture stuff that has shifted. And now let's go into some more specific examples.
Yeah. Okay, I can start.
Beautiful.
Okay, so one big thing of how God has changed our relationship for me personally is, and like I said, I didn't know this was a problem. I didn't even know I was doing this before. It wasn't until God came in and really showed me that I was like, oh, wow, okay. So what I can see now is that something I used to do in our relationship was that I kind of made our relationship and you the rock of my life. It was like this stability. It was where I got a lot of my peace. in my life. And so that means when our relationship was rocky in moments, right? Like we have little moments of conflict or whatever, and I would be not okay, or even when I was going through maybe just a rocky moment outside the relationship, just in my life, I would come to you right away. You'd be my first place to go, because I was like, I need help. Like, help me get out of this place. And and I'll tell you how it is now and the shift there, but how it is now is that God is my rock. And so now I go to God. So if we're having a moment in our relationship where we're having conflict, I've been really practicing praying instead of just trying to go right to you and fix it, or say sorry, or get you to say what I want you to say, or whatever I'm trying to do, try to be right. I go to God and I pray and ask for guidance. And that's so beautiful, because with God being my rock, it's not like I'm not at the whim of our relationship. I'm not looking for you to give me advice to help me get out of my low moments. Like, still, yes, I love your advice. I still go to you. We still talk about things, but it's not the first place that I go. And what that gives me is so much a deeper sense of stability and anchoring in my life, and not so much pressure on the relationship or on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, and on that, there's now, before connecting with God, it was, I'm the head of the family, and now there's headship, meaning, so God is here, for those of you listening on the podcast, so God is at the top.
Yeah.
God is the head
God's
of this
number one.
relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Then me, then you. So there's hierarchy. And
yeah, which is something we had. We loved, we taught about, we loved polarity, like the masculine leading and the feminine following and supporting, and it just gives way more. And again, it's kind of like that stability, that clarity, that when God's the leader, everything else falls into place. It's a lot simpler.
yes.
Yeah.
And that also just allows me to be an even better leader, because I'm practicing being a great follower, right? To be a great leader, you must become a great follower. And for me, it's now following God, which does give me stability. Like in the past, when there'd be financial anxiety that shows up in my mind, I'd be like, I wouldn't be as firm in my leadership, because I was so anxious about this projection of the future that my mind was making up. Now that God is at the head and I'm relying on God, I'm not just so relying on me, and I trust God, it allows me to be much more firm in my leadership and leading our family.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and the other thing I think it gives us is a set of values that's outside of us and what we think and what we want.
Yes.
And it's values that work. It's values that have been time tested and proven and given by God, given by the Bible, so that, again, because even when we took kind of play parties off the table, it's like, in the Bible, it talks about sexual immorality and only being with each other inside of our relationship. And so that's a value that we really took on, not because it's what we thought or how we felt, which is really what kind of was guiding our relationship before, what we thought, what we felt. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, what does God say? And that's a way, again, just firmer foundation to just build our life upon. It feels way safer and more clear.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that. I'm so grateful.
Me too. So I want to share that story that happened the other week.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the other week we had some conflict, and I don't know if you ever had the time when you've been in conflict with anyone, and then you got to a point where you stopped listening, and all you knew is that I have to win this, right? I need to show that I'm right, they're wrong, and I'm the winner here. For me, I'll speak for myself, it got to that point where I'm like, I just wanted to prove myself as being right.
Yes, and can I add though? Because me too.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously the hardest conflicts to get in when we're both triggered.
Exactly.
Like if one person isn't as triggered, they can more kind of just hold space, be the conscious one. But we were both out of it and just wanting the other person to see our side. But my side's right. Validate me.
Yeah. And personally, I had a great lesson from that I'll make another video on. It's just around how to prevent conflict from happening, and just noticing the internal signs that shows you that you're in what we call red, right? So there's green, orange, red. That's for another video. But I noticed that I was in red, where I'm like, I'm not listening. I just want to prove that I'm right. And we slept on it. We went to sleep, and the next morning, every Sunday morning, we go and get breakfast together. So we went and got breakfast, and
And at this point, just to give a little bit of the context, like we're a little disconnected, where we
we're,
both
like
know.
kissing, still saying hello, good
Yeah.
morning, and
It wasn't
but
a big fight, but it was like, okay, there's something that's unresolved,
something,
you know?
yeah, something's
Yeah.
incomplete. So we were riding, and I was riding in Bali. We live in Bali right now, and I was riding my scooter. Kelly was riding her scooter to this restaurant,
Yes.
cafe, and I just noticed that I was just feeling so heavy, and still feeling that, just wanting to be right. And what I did was started to do all these deep breathing techniques, and I'm like, okay, this isn't working. I'm like, okay, God, let me speak to you. What do you say here? And I just started to go into prayer while riding, and I said, God, I don't know what to do here. Please just give me heart reconstruction here. Show me, put all the pieces that are not in alignment, and put it all back into alignment. How do you want me to be here? And he immediately dropped in, and then when we got to the when we got to the cafe, I was still feeling this. We were still feeling disconnected. I haven't said what I wanted to say to her yet.
Yeah.
And when we got there, there was this woman that came up to us, and she's like, she's a woman that came up to us. She's like, oh my God, like, what did she say? It's
Well,
like, here you go.
I wasn't with you.
Ah, yeah,
But she
yeah.
knew us from our Instagram. Matt was like downstairs. I was upstairs sitting, and
Yeah, so she just introduced herself. She said, "I love you. I love your content so much." And she was saying to her friends, like, "You got to see this guy. Like,
he loves his wife.
loves his
really
wife.
loves his wife. You
Yeah.
guys came upstairs because she
Yeah.
wanted to say hi, and
Yeah.
that's what I heard her say. She was like, "Wow," her friend said that she turned to her and said, "Oh, that man, like he really loves his wife," and it
And
was a sweet
internally,
moment.
it was so sweet. But
Yeah.
internally, I'm like, the last 24 hours has been like, there's just been challenges going on. It was just so funny.
Right.
So it just highlighted it even more. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to lean into this conversation.
Well, can I pause because I want to
Yeah.
share my perspective on this, like where I was at, like as I was processing this conflict, and it was, yeah, I was feeling so crunchy is the word I want to use after our conversation. I was like, oh, like just what's happening here? I just feel disconnected and uncomfortable and angry and whatever, hurt. And anyways, what I did actually in that moment was, I read the Bible a little bit, I prayed, and I asked for guidance and reflection from a couple of godly women I have in my life, actually. And it really helped me to see, it helped me, along with reading the Bible, along with prayer, to see more of Matt's perspective, to get out of my perspective and to start to see where you were coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I had the plan to kind of, I was thinking we were going to talk about that at breakfast, but we hadn't talked yet at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's So then she wanted a photo, so we got a photo with her and stuff, and we just started laughing about the fact of like all of that happening. And then I just said, look, hey, I just want to apologize for just the way that I've showed up the last 24 hours, and just took accountability for my part in what happened, and just apologize, and just reassured Kelly about everything that was happening, and
Yeah.
and we just got reconnected.
Well, and something I love that you said, it was just like, I really chose to, or I don't know if chose, but I feel like that correct me if I'm wrong, but like that moment of God, like helped you to just also see my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was so
absolutely.
helpful because that's what I wanted, and I think maybe that's what we all want when we're in a conflict, like to see where I'm coming from here.
Yeah.
And that felt so good. It was such a relief to hear that. And I was just so grateful. I'm like, well, thank you, God. Thank you, Matt. It's so nice to have God in our relationship because
Yeah.
it wouldn't have gone this way in the past.
Yes. So that's an example of me being a great follower, being led by God to allow me to, it's like, hey, I don't know what to do here. If I'm trying to live by my will, I'm not going to apologize, right? Because I just want to be right. My pride is getting in the way. But being led by God, that's what allowed this reconnection to happen.
Yeah.
So that's one example.
Well, yeah, but I want to share what I said
yeah.
after that because I also apologized because I think we both came to the table like wanting to apologize, which is so sweet. And then you said yours first, and then I followed up with just like same. I was seeing it from your perspective, and I'm sorry for we won't go into the details of the topic, but, basically, like, I can see your perspective, and I'm sorry for my part of this. Yeah. And then we just giggled a little bit, and then like giggled about like the girl coming up to us, and just like the funny moment of that, and had a super connected breakfast after that.
Yeah. Kelly and I always laugh about this. Like, there's some people that we see in public, and they will see us, and they'll look at us, and we're like, are we being really narcissistic here? There's like this certain look that people give us where I'm like, I think I know I follow you on social media, and and she gave us that look. And then it got confirmed that she did follow us because she came up and said hello. So the reason why I'm saying that is because if you ever see us in public, please come and say hello.
Please do.
Yes.
We love it. We love meeting you guys.
Yeah.
And I know it might feel like a bother or something, but it's not. It's such a gift.
No.
So please come say hi.
Yes. All right, let's go into the next one.
Okay.
Keep speaking, and I'm just going to check the camera.
Wait, actually, I just want to open up my notes here.
We're just going to keep the
like
podcast rolling.
Okay. So, well, can I share a Bible verse here?
Mm-hmm.
So I love this Bible verse, and it was said at our wedding. It's from 1 Corinthians 13:4. It's a very popular one. I bet you know it. It goes like this. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable and keeps no records of wrongs. And I just love that because it can just so relate to that story we just said. Like, wow, it does not demand its own way. And it keeps no record of wrongs. Mm-hmm. That's something else I've been learning. Like, God's really been showing me what forgiveness actually is. And I can see where before forgiveness was always about, okay, if you say the right thing, if you say sorry, I'll forgive you. Mm-hmm. Or, if I kind of, I never knew that I could forgive just because I chose to. It had to be from, maybe as a result of a conversation or as a result of maybe a process that I did, a healing process that I did. And God's been showing me, like, I can just choose to forgive. Mm-hmm. And that's been so freeing, not just, like, in our relationship, because even in that moment, it was like, wow, okay, I can choose to hold on to my perspective here and not forgive, or I can just keep no record of wrongs and forgive and trust God to repair this, and not trust me to repair it. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool the way that with God's help, we can just choose to forgive and like be released from that suffering. Yeah, it's been a big lesson in my life recently.
Absolutely. I love that. Great.
All right, should I go on to the next thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next thing I wrote here was, so it's the overview is changing my mindset from getting to giving. So right before we got married, I was searching up some YouTube videos of what it means to be a wife, because I was just curious. I'm stepping into this whole new phase of life, this whole new role. Like, I need to prepare a little bit. I read a couple books. I was searching YouTube, and it was so interesting because the perspectives that I liked the most, and this was like before fully coming to Jesus, but it was like I was investigating. The perspective I liked the best were the Christian women. And I was like, why is this? Now I know, but then I wasn't sure why. And something I loved that they were saying is that in the Bible, marriage and relationship is not about getting. It's not about, it's not about getting. It's about giving. It's about a self-giving love. And I was just like, wow, that's so interesting. It's so different than what I've taught, what I've thought in the past, because I always thought, like, okay, put me at the center of the relationship and that's how it'll work. And in some ways that was a breakthrough for me from, being in past relationships that were really toxic, and I totally lost myself. It was an upgrade for me to put myself at the center and like get my needs met. So I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. And it was an important step in my journey. And now the next step is coming more into balance. So it was almost like, that we always talk about the pendulum swing. It's like my pendulum it was all the way over here on completely losing myself. This was, way in the past. And then for my healing journey, I swung all the way over to like, okay, how can I get my needs met? How can I be heard? How can I get what I need and want? Important journey, but now how can I come into balance to be able to give and to be more of a team? And there's another Bible verse that I want to read here that really brought this into some clarity. for me, and it says this. It says, "Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry." I love that, especially the quick to listen and slow to speak. And what I could see was like, I've been really quick to speak, you know, like when we get in conflict, I'm like, I want to share how I feel. You know, I joked about on a recent coaching call, like I used to just bring up issues in the most inappropriate times I didn't know then, because I was just like, I need to share this right now. I'd be in the middle of a cafe in Bali, like crying, you know, and because I thought I was like, if I don't do this now, I'm going to lose myself in a relationship. It was like my fears from the past. And now we worked through that previous, right? And like finding appropriate times to share and a continuation of that journey for me is like being quick to listen, like, and with that, so moving from a heart posture of like, how can I get what I want versus how can I give here? How can I listen more to Matt? How can I be more quick to serve and to give and to be generous in our relationship and to make sure his needs are met? And that's just been it's been a welcome shift. It's felt really good. I'm not like perfect at it. It's a continued journey for sure, but just shifting that mindset, it's been so, like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, what a relief. Like, I don't have to focus on myself all the time. That's been a big journey with God, too. Like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm not at the center.
Yes.
God's at the center. And it's like God, and then it's like, yeah, I don't know the hierarchy of that. I don't know where I'm going with that. But yeah, do you have anything you want to add?
No. I will change the subject here, but is there anything else you want to add on to that before?
No, I think that's it. So just listening more, giving more, switching from getting to giving, switching from being like kind of more selfish to being more self-giving in our relationship.
That's beautiful. Speaking of giving, one of the things that I wrote down that has shifted is humility. And I think that it showed up. The humility is the lack of pride, right? So if we think about the opposite of humility, it's pride. So
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because what does pride mean? Because now I know, but I wouldn't have known necessarily before.
Pride, I'm going to paraphrase what I got from Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. So my understanding of pride now is any time that I consider myself, protecting myself to try to be perceived, or in my mind, be less than, right? So like if I was to say sorry here, then that admits that I'm wrong, which means you're right, and then there's hierarchy there. So I'm up here, you're down here. So pride is like the glue to not have that happen.
Right. It's like I want to keep myself superior.
Exactly.
Or I think which is different than the hierarchy we talked about before, which is like God, us.
Yes.
God, Matt, me. But it's more of just like it's an ego kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah, I need to save face. I need to try
to
stay
be
in control.
Superior. So the manifestation of that shows up in many different ways. I'm going to get the best body, or I'm going to have more money. It shows up as more, better, different, right? So I'm going to be better than you at this. I'm going to be more right than you. I'm going to be different. So then that way, if I'm different, then I'm not the same. And because I'm not the same, then I'm better than you.
Right.
So
great. Thanks
that's
for
my
explaining
understanding
that.
of it.
No, I like that. Yeah.
So with humility, it's just looking at, for me, where it did show up. And I loved as I'm reading, not just reading now, but like studying the Bible, just listening to the stories, taking notes, and really seeing how I loved in the Last Supper, the night before Jesus was crucified, he got down and he started to wash the disciples' feet. And for me, it was just such a display of humility there. This is Jesus getting down, washing the disciples' feet. And it says in John, the description of what happened. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And I just love that. So for me, the other day, just looking at how just small little ways and big ways where I haven't had humility. So seeing that, okay, Jesus went down and washed his disciples' feet. So this might sound weird, but like washing the dishes for me was like something that I'm like, I'm not someone that's going to wash the dishes. And in our home, we have roles. Like I do one thing, Kelly does other things, but there's been this lack of willingness to do certain things that Kelly does. So those are some examples for me that's showed up.
Yeah, I love that. That's so, what a beautiful realization. I
Yeah.
think that there's something so powerful in that for everybody. Like,
Yeah. And I just think a lot of relationship breakdowns happens because there is a lack of humility, which means that if there's a lack of humility, what's filling in that gap is pride.
right.
If we look at any relationship breakdown, probably what's happening is pride is running it. Pride is present.
Yeah, even our fight that we referenced that we just started talking about, it's like we are
Pride.
both in pride. I want to be
Yes.
right.
Yes.
I'm right here. You're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm more evolved here. I'm more conscious here. Like, whatever it is.
Yes. So that's all I have.
Wow.
More to come.
More to come. There are other things. Yeah, like this is just the tip of the iceberg, it feels.
Do you have anything else?
No, but I just mean like on future podcasts, I think we'll
Yes.
speak more as like obviously as just this journey continues to unfold. But this is what we have to share right now. So
So if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below. What was your biggest takeaway? If you're listening via podcast, please subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you in the next podcast.
see ya.